Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, FDA approved for over 20 years. So, talk to your specialist to see if Botox Cosmetic is right for you.
For full prescribing information, including boxed warning, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
Remember to ask for Botox Cosmetic by name. To see for yourself and learn more, visit BotoxCosmetic.com. That's BotoxCosmetic.com.
One, two, three, four. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast.
What's up, everybody? This is Dark Macek with Brutally Delicious, coming into the review of the Stryper show I saw last night. As an early good sign, let's just say my voice is almost never this low. I guess I just did a whole lot of screaming last night. So, I have reviewed Stryper's last two releases, but I had never seen them live. In fact, I'm not even sure I'd ever, had their tours on my radar until this past one. What a mistake. The show was at the Performing Arts Theater in Patchogue, New York. To put some things in perspective, that's kind of a giant pain in the ass to get to unless you're on Long Island and already have a car. I did take an hour, 20-minute train in from the city. And still, no regrets because this shit was awesome. I was a little worried at first because it's a seated theater and, well, the crowd seemed maybe a little stuffy. Combination of the Long Island type and just the fact that for a metal show like that, I don't want to be sitting. But everybody else was. Thankfully, as soon as Michael entered the stage, he, gestured for everybody to stand up, and we all did. Nice. So, for those unfamiliar, Stryper's current tour has two sets to it. The first set is the old school set, and the second one is the new school set. There's a half-hour intermission, too. How quaint. That fits the seated theater thing. The rest of the show did not. So, of course, it's a very bold choice for them to do the old school set first. Let's be real, most of us are going to like that one more. I certainly did. But the new school set was awesome too. I just didn't know the material as well. I'm tempted to say most bands would have given their left nuts to have had a greatest hit set that's as good as the one most people are going to say for Stryper is the lesser one. So even for a small theater like that, the sound was tremendous. Guitars sounded so cool, and every time I go back and listen to Stryper, it makes me think, how did I forget these guys could play so well? Michael had a touching moment where he brought up the yellow and black theme of Stryper and likened it a bit to Eddie Van Halen. And no one can play like Eddie Van Halen, but Stryper could play a whole lot better than a lot of his clones in the 80s. But the big shout out that needs to happen here is that somehow Michael Sweet, being 61 years old, I think, still sings like a champ. He doesn't sound like he's 25 anymore, but he sounds like the more mature, huskier 32-year-old. You know how Paul Stanley on I Still Love You has clearly gained from the way he sounded on Strutter? That's what Michael's voice sounds like. I did not get the slightest hint of backing tracks here. There were a couple times when Michael stepped away from the mic to gesture to us to sing instead, and sure enough, there weren't backing vocals filling in the sound there. Point being, that is his voice. It is killer. It is not augmented. If you're on the fence about seeing Stryper this tour or next, they still got it. They really do. Tremendous sound, fantastic vocals, just a great metal experience. I'll address what is probably the elephant in the room for a lot of us. Yes, the band is Christian. They tossed out pocket Bibles into the crowd at one point. My take on this is, you do you, bud. If it makes all of you happy, it's part of the community, and it just inspires you to be better to other people, that's fine. I'd rather that than you just pretending to be a Satanist because it makes more money. At one point, Weird Al Yankovic was asked how he, as a vegetarian, could play at a big barbecue event. There was apparently some big cookout. And he said, it's the same way I can perform at a college even though I'm not a student anymore. Point being, as someone who is, not usually into that, it was not exclusory. They had a moment for their own thing, and the other hour and 29 minutes, 30 seconds was about metal. Set highlights for me included Calling on You, Sorry to Be a Normie, Soldiers Under Command, but even When We Were Kings from the new set. Fun times, and I can't wait to see them again. Thanks, dudes. Rock on.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Pandolfi inviting you to check out the new season of my podcast, Inside the Musician's Brain, with new episodes airing now.
Hearing it in that room, these guys playing this thing and trying to figure out how to play this song was mind-blowing. It's so inspiring to know there's so much more to it than you ever thought. And it just opened another door.
But when people find faith because they need to, in terms of just filling a void to feel better without actually being better, that's when it becomes a crutch, much like, drugs and alcohol do.
Man, I don't have all the time in the world here. If I want to be a professional bluegrass musician, I felt like I had to take a very strategic approach, just trying to get rid of the barriers and figure out what those barriers were.
The feelings still come and I have to reckon with that, but I think I have better ways of moving forward and not being stuck, which I think was the killer for me.
Catch all that and so much more on the new season of Inside the Musician's Brain.